What is up, Flutter devs? Today we're going to build a custom animated drawer in Flutter that we're going to use in the Flutter Processing example app. Let's jump into it. Here we have the current example app, or at least one of the entry points to it. In Flutter Processing, I've ended up creating a bunch of different entry points, and there's no need for that. For example, in addition to what you just saw running here under the coding train, all of these different files have their own main entry point. That means you have to rerun the build every time for each one of those, and there's no reason for that. We want all of these demos visible in one place. What we're going to do today is we're going to start with this screen here, and we're going to add a little overhang here on the left side of the screen. And when you tap on an arrow, a drawer is going to animate out with groups of options for demos that you can click on, and then you can close the drawer to view the demo. Now, the first thing we need to do is create a screen specifically for that purpose, because everything that we see here is actually just content. It's like a page within the screen, and every demo has its own page, but we need the screen with the drawer, with the Chrome, the scaffold, whatever, and then we display this content inside of it. Let's get started with that. Let me show you what we've got to begin with first. Here's the normal main file. This is the typical example entry point. You can see here's our main function for this entry point. We call run app like normal. This is the app that we're running. It's a material app. It has a default theme, and then it displays this home screen. Everything you see here is the home screen, but it's not really a home screen. It's more of a hacking demo. And so that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to rename this to hacking demo. And not only am I going to rename it, I'm going to move it, because again, what we want to launch is a generic screen for all the demos. And I want to collect my own demos in a directory here that we will call demos. So we already have the coding train, and that I'm going to continue storing anything that I create that simulates or ports what Dan creates over on the coding train. That's going to go in here so everyone knows where it comes from and we give appropriate credit. But a lot of other things that I create that are my own ideas or hacks or prototypes, they're going to go under demos. So I'm going to create a file here called hacking demo. And then I'm going to come back here to the main.dart, and I'm just going to grab all this stuff and cut it out and paste it over here under hacking demo. I'm going to import material. Then I need to import some file system stuff. Import Flutter Processing, sure. Import file selector, just bringing back all the imports. And let's see, what's the problem here? I think we have to hide. So whenever we deal with images, we get the image widget out of material, but that's not the image we want. We want image out of Dart.io. So you have to hide one for the other. You have to either hide the image in Dart.io or you have to hide the image in material. Otherwise, the names conflict. And so now we have this complaint about image right here, but, oh, sorry, I said Dart.io, I meant Dart UI. So this image here comes from Dart UI. That image is a bitmap image, whereas this image here from material is the image widget, but they have the same name, so they conflict. Let's go back to main. For now, I'll import hacking demo just to make sure everything's working. I'm going to save that. Now we're already running this here. So I'm going to do a hot restart and see if we get any errors. Okay, everything seems to still be fine. What we've done now is we've opened up a space right here where we can put any screen that we want. Hacking demo is out of our main.dart file. It's sitting off in a different directory. Let's create a file called app screen. And we're going to create a stateful widget called app screen. We'll import material. Now, we may or may not be able to get away with a stateless widget, we are going to animate. So there's going to be an animation controller. It's possible that if we're careful, we don't actually need to call set state. But I think sooner or later, this app screen that we're building here is going to want to call set state. It's going to want to maintain internal configuration that changes over time. So I'm just going to make it a stateful widget and assume that we'll eventually need it. I'm also going to comment what this class is. The term app screen is not particularly clear, but there's no good name for this screen that I can come up with. So this is a screen that displays one of many demos. Multiple demos are available in a drawer. Not a great description, but it should tell you something about what app screen means, and we can always improve that documentation comment later. For now, I'm going to take in a child widget. Now, I say for now because if we have a drawer, the point of the drawer is to change our content, right? But just for the moment, to keep things working, we're going to take in a child. And then in our build method, we are going to return widget.child. Therefore, this widget really does nothing right now, but it allows us to come in here and say app screen, pass in hacking demo. Let's organize imports, save, and just to be sure, let's do a hot restart. Everything remains the same. Okay, so now we have a screen around this page. It's not displaying anything, but it gives us a place to create our drawer. Let's go back to app screen. First, we just want to get the visuals working here. I don't really care about getting selection working yet. And this is a common practice. Start with your visuals, and once you get the visuals working, then connect it to whatever other information that you need. If we're going to have a drawer, the drawer needs to sit on top of the content. If one thing is sitting on top of another in the Z-index, that's a pretty good indication that what you want is a stack. Now I'm going to generate a column because this list doesn't have a stack in there, but I'll generate a column and then I'll just rename it to stack. And now we have a stack. And then on top of the content, I'm going to say build drawer, which we will return from a build drawer method. So what do we want? What is this drawer? What is this widget that we're returning for the drawer? Well, it's going to have kind of two pieces to it. It's going to be one thing, but it's going to have two pieces. First, I want a little bit of overhang here. This is not going to be an invisible or hidden drawer. I want this drawer to show itself with a little overlap here on the left side, and I want a little arrow icon that the user can tap on to open the drawer. So let's make that happen first. We're in a stack. We want to be as tall as the screen, and we want to be anchored to the left side of the screen. We can accomplish that with a positioned widget. So let's return positioned. We want to be top 0, bottom 0. This makes us as tall as the stack, and then left 0. We'll eventually change that left parameter to animate the drawer, but for now that'll do. And then our child will be a, I was going to say container. I think we actually want material because the icon that we show is going to be an icon button. So first, let's make sure we have a piece of material so that doesn't complain. And then we will have a sized box, which is going to establish the width. And for the width, we want a drawer overhang width. I'm going to make that a constant. So let's also deal with the color here. Color, I want a drawer overhang color. Let's go make both of these things constants up here. Let's see, drawer overhang color, const color. And let me check my notes here for what I actually want these colors to be. Okay, I think for this color, we're going to go with all of the colors we're going to be dealing with today are going to be dark grays. This one in particular is going to be 333333 as a hex value. And then we want the drawer overhang width. And that, let's go with, I don't know, 48 pixels. Let's see, did I misspell that? Oh, okay. Can't figure out how to make a double from an int, a consistent issue that I wish somebody would fix. And let's save that. All right, notice over here on the left that we have this gray overhang thing. I now want an arrow chevron here in the vertical center of this overhang. I'll say child of the sized box, we will use a center. I will say child from there will be an icon button. And then the icon will be icons dot chevron right on pressed. For now, I'm going to leave blank. It doesn't really matter. Let's save that. All right, you probably can't see it, but it's here and it's black. So we could just set the color directly, but probably for this entire drawer, we're going to be dealing with a dark theme. And so we might as well just change the theme entirely. So around this positioned, actually, I guess I'll leave the positioned where it is so that the positioned is the direct child of the stack. But then around the material, I'm going to create a theme widget. And then for data, we're going to say theme data dot dark. Let's save that. And now the icon is white. You can tap it. Nothing happens yet, but we have the icon at least. Okay, now let's deal with the other side of this drawer. To the left of the overhang, we want the actual drawer. How do we get something to the left of the overhang? Well, we can use a row. So we'll take this sized box right here with the width, and we will surround that with a row. And we will put to the left of it another sized box with a width of drawer width. I need a constant for that. We're going to go with 250 pixels. And then, well, let's see. So here the material, that's not a great place now because this is going to apply the same background color. Maybe that background color is fine. Well, we'll deal with the color in a second when we get there. First, let's deal with the fact that this is now going to look like an open drawer, okay? I guess we can go ahead and get the animation working before we even deal with what is in the drawer. We want this drawer to begin mostly off screen with just the overhang. Then when we tap the arrow, we want it to animate out to this position. And then when we tap anywhere outside the drawer, or when we tap this arrow again, we want it to go back to the left. Let's make that happen. We're going to need an animation controller, and that means we're also going to need a single ticker state provider mixin so that we can run the animation controller. We will initialize the animation controller in init state. We also need to always dispose of controllers. And then down here for positioned, we can make the left position equal to the animation controller dot value times the drawer width. So when the value is 0, that's incorrect. We need to start in negative territory. So we need the value -1. So that initially it's actually -1 times the drawer width. Let's save that. Uh-oh, gotta do a hot restart so we actually create the animation controller. Okay, so now we're back to where we expected to be. Let's create a couple methods in here. Let's say open drawer and close drawer. For open drawer, we're going to say animation controller forward. And to close drawer, we're going to say animation controller reverse. Then we come down here, and when we tap on this icon, first let's switch the icon as needed. So if the drawer is closed, if the drawer is anything other than open, technically there are 4 states. There's closed, opening, open, closing. I don't really want to deal with 2 of those. I would like to just switch the icon one or the other because I don't really care enough to worry about all that. So what we will say is animation controller dot value is greater than 0, then we're going to show a chevron pointing to the left. I sure wish my autocomplete would hurry up today. Chevron left, otherwise chevron right. Now we're going to switch the icon. Also in onPressed, we're going to say if animation controller, let's say only if we're not animating. Then if animation controller is greater than 0, we are going to say, if the value is greater than 0, then we're going to say close drawer. Otherwise, we're going to say open drawer. And really, this right here should be in a method called toggle drawer. And since toggle drawer calls the other 2, let's declare that above the other 2. And there we go. Now, technically that will run the animation, but we will see that it does not solve our problems. Nothing happens, and that's because we are not rebuilding our widget tree when the animation runs. To solve that problem, I don't know if this is going to work actually, but I'm going to try to wrap positioned with a builder, not a stream builder, but an animated builder. Let's see if that complains because positioned is no longer a direct child. Seems to be all right. Hey, there we go. Look at that. So now we're rebuilding our drawer as the drawer animation changes, which causes that left position to change 60 times per second. Now, I don't like that it's a linear animation. I would like for it to start and stop more slowly, like it has some mass to it. This is called ease in, ease out. What we want is a curve. There are multiple ways that we could apply an animation curve. I'm going to use something called a curved animation. After we create the animation controller, we will then create a curved Wow, my autocomplete is so slow today. Animation controller, curve. We want curves dot ease in out. That's easing in both directions. But that still isn't enough, because remember, we go forward in the curve to open the drawer, but we are reversing the curve on the way out. So actually, I take that back. If this was just ease in, or if it was just ease out, we'd need two curves. One curve going forward, one curve going back. But this curve might be symmetrical, the same going forward and back. So we actually might be fine. But if you ever need the other direction, reverse curve is available. You could use a different curve in reverse. Let's save that. Now, so drawer animation, we need to use it still. So down here in animated builder, we're going to pass animation, drawer animation, and we're going to use, more importantly, we're going to use drawer animation.value down here. The animation controller works as a clock to run the animation, but the drawer animation is what actually decides the exact pixel value that we have. Let's do a hot restart. And let's see what it looks like now. Well, it's still, there's a little bit of difference in the speed there. I wonder if because we're in debug build and we're running this expensive processing sketch over here, if we're just kind of a little janky on the animation. Doesn't matter. We have a curve applied. We can change the curve later to a different curve and change the timing. Now we pretty much have the drawer itself, except one thing. I want to be able to click out here and close the drawer. So here's what we're going to do for that. What would be a good name for that thing? Build drawer tap to close. I don't know. And here, we're again going to need an animated builder because we only want this thing to intercept taps when the drawer is open. We are going to return a gesture detector whose child is going to be a container, whose width is going to be as wide as possible, whose height is going to be as wide as possible, and whose color is going to be transparent. Now, in theory, all we should need is a sized box, but I seem to run into issues where the gesture detector won't detect a tap on a sized box. I have to actually give a transparent color. I've tried changing the behavior of the gesture detector. It never seems to work. I don't know if that's intended or if that's a bug or what, but we're going to have a container with an explicit transparent color. We are only going to have this, though. We're going to say if drawer animation dot value is greater than 0, then we're going to have that. Otherwise, we're just going to have a sized box that won't show anything and it won't interfere with gestures. Let's save that. Open. Oh, we need to actually respond to the gesture. On tap, we're going to say close drawer. Save that. Close. Open. Close. Open. Close. Open. Close. Open. Close. Open. Close. Okay, cool. So we have a drawer. We now need the content in the drawer. For the time being, the number of options that we have in this drawer is not going to fill the drawer vertically, and I would like some decoration above. I would like to vertically center the demos in the drawer, and I would like some decoration above and below the options so that it's clear where they begin and end. And for that, I'm going to use a package that draws angled lines all down the drawer as kind of a background pattern. So let me go find that package real quick, and then I'll be right back. Okay, here's the package. It's called Patterns Canvas, and it can draw a whole bunch of different patterns. We're going to take advantage of diagonal stripes thick. Here's how this package works. It's not necessarily how I would design the API, but it is what it is, so we're going to use it how we're going to use it. We have to define a custom painter. So we extend custom painter, we use this pattern thing, and then we use a custom paint widget. Let's make that happen. I'll just actually copy this as it is right here. We'll come back into our code for the app screen. We'll come down here and paste that code. I will call this, let's see, drawer pattern painter. I also actually forgot to add this to the pub spec. So pub spec YAML. And is this the correct one? I think it is. And then, yes, this is patterns canvas. What's the version? 0.3.5. Patterns canvas 0.3.5. Save. Come back here, get dependencies. Whenever you're ready. I don't know why this thing is not seeing that dependency. Okay, now it's there. All right. So diagonal stripes thick, this is actually already the pattern that we want. This rect is incorrect. We want to paint the entire size. So we need to pass a rectangle, apparently. Apparently passing size is not enough, or I think it's going to paint everything. So a quick way to create a rectangle is offset.0 and size. And then we also need to implement should repaint. And because we're not going to take any parameters in, we don't ever need to repaint unless the size changes, in which case Flutter will repaint automatically. Now we're going to use this custom painter with a custom paint to create the background for the drawer. Here is build drawer. And then here is the actual drawer part of the drawer. We're going to surround this with a custom paint. And we're going to use the drawer pattern painter. Save. And I guess let's hot restart just in case. Nope, still not showing. What is the problem? Is it possible that this has a height of 0? We can say row cross-axis alignment stretch, make everything as tall as possible. That was the problem. Now I do not want this pattern. I want different colors and I want thinner lines. So let me go check my notes here and see what I want for this. Okay. Let's come back in here. Let's come down to the custom painter. For the background color, what I want is a color of 2A, 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 and then the foreground, I want a color of 303030. And then there's this parameter called features count, which in this case is, I think, going to be the number of lines, and we're going to go big and go 100. Save that. There we go. Now we have what I'm looking for. It may not be easy to see on your screen, but there are a bunch of very thin light and dark gray lines, which adds some texture. And if you're running this in person, it will be clear what constitutes a group of list items versus what constitutes this background. Now we're into menu territory, which is how do we represent a menu? We can model that ourselves pretty easily. So in here, we are going to define a class called drawer menu item. Every individual demo item will have an associated drawer menu item in a group. We're going to allow a possible icon if you want to pass one. We're going to require a title, and we're going to have an optional subtitle. We'll support all of those. Now we're going to add something else to this definition later, but just to get the visuals working again, this is all that we need. We'll create a constructor, make it const, make these named. That's not required. That's required. Okay. But I don't just want a drawer filled with a bunch of the same kinds of items. I want groups. I want a group for the coding train. I want a group for my work, maybe groups for other things in the future. And so that means that we also need a demo menu group. And actually, now that I see that, let me rename this. This is not a drawer menu item. This should be a demo menu item. The group is going to have a title, and then the group is going to have a list of demo menu items. We'll take both of those into a const constructor. Wouldn't it be cool if when you generated a constructor, it generated above your properties and with named parameters, like almost everything ends up being at the end? That'd be nice. That'd save time over and over and over and over again. All right. So with that, what is a menu? Well, a menu is a list of demo menu groups. Our screen, instead of taking in a child, should take in a list of demo menu groups. We'll call that menu. And we are also going to require, I'm trying to think if we want to offer control over the very first menu item that's active. Let's see how it works out. Okay, and now in our screen, we can't just show widget.child. We now need, well, to do this, I said we were going to do the visual stuff first, didn't I? So let's not break that. Let's put the child back where it was. We'll break that in a minute. First, let's just render this thing. What are you complaining about? Did I misspell something? What's the problem here? Oh, semicolon, not a comma. All right. Let's come back to main, where we instantiate the app screen, and notice that we're broken. We're broken because we aren't providing a menu and we aren't providing the initial item to display. I'm going to create a method here, which is going to build a menu, which is a list of demo menu groups. The reason I'm putting this in a method is because if I were to define this as a const or a final property, it wouldn't be recreated during hot reload. It would only be recreated during hot restart, which is more destructive. I'd rather that it refresh every time. In production, there's no need to put this in a method if it's constant. But for development, ease of development, I'm going to put it in a method so that the method gets called every time the widget tree is built. We're going to return a list of demo menu group. Wow, it's incredible how slow the autocomplete is today. First, we're going to have my stuff. And then we're going to have the coding train. And for my stuff, let's see, we will say demo menu item. Come on, come on. Okay. Title will be hacking demo. And then we'll just grab one of these coding train examples for now. So let's say demo menu item title Starfield. Then up here in our build method, we will say menu equals create menu. Then we will say menu is equal to menu. And we will say initial active item is menu 0 items. Actually, we can say menu.first.items.first. That's the first item in the first group. Save that. Okay. I think everything is fine there. We'll do a hot restart just in case. Everything seems to be okay. So now we want to get the visuals for group headers and for individual items. So let's start with the group headers. Come back here to app screen. Down here we build the drawer. I'm going to create a build method for each header and for each list item because we're going to want to call them repeatedly. So first we're going to say build menu group header. And we're going to require a title. We're going to return a container. We're going to give it some padding. Just on the vertical. I'm going to go 8 pixels on the vertical. We're going to give it a color to contrast a bit with the background. This is going to be, I think, even darker than the background, than the pattern background. Then we're going to actually show the title with text. So we'll put title in there. And just in case it wraps, which it probably won't, but if it does, we're going to go text-align.center. And then we're going to give it a text style with a color that is a medium gray for the text, which should still contrast fine with the very dark background, but it will be darker than the rest of the list items, so it doesn't draw too much attention. Now with this group, with this menu group header, we want to come back up here to the drawer. Here's where we're building our drawer, and it probably makes sense to break this down as well. Let's have widget build drawer content and build drawer overhang. Let's come grab our overhang, which is right here. Build drawer overhang. Going to return that from right here. And then here is our drawer content. And in our drawer content, we have this sized box, which is as tall as the screen and it's drawer width wide. We want to center our content when there's not enough to fill the drawer. So we're going to start with the center widget, but we have to keep in mind that eventually we're going to have more demos than we have available space, which means we need to scroll. So we will introduce a single child scroll view, whose child will then be a column, which gives us vertical orientation. We're going to make that column as short as possible, main axis size.min. And then the children of that column are the groups and the menu items. So we will say for final group in widget.menu, we're going to return multiple things, but among them will be a build menu group header where we will say group.title. All right, let's see, we have something broken. We need to say return. Okay, let's save that. All right, well, we're somewhere. These need to be stretched, but then we do have our two headers here, super declarative and the coding train. So in this column, we will set the cross-axis alignment to stretch. All right, now we have full width. Now, I would like for the end of each group to have a little sliver, have a divider and then a little sliver. Or I guess, well, the divider can be added by the list item, but I want a little light gray area at the bottom of each group that clearly separates it from the next group. Let me, again, figure out what color I want for that. Okay. So at the end of the group, I would like a container with a height of 24 and a color of 30, 30, 30. Let's save that. All right, so now you see you have that little solid color area at the bottom of a group. And now we need the individual list items in the group. Below the build menu group header, let's create a method called build menu item, which will take in a demo menu item. And let's see, what do we want to return here? We're going to want a list tile. For now, I'm going to ignore the icon and the subtitle. Easy enough to add later, but I'm just going to worry about the title. We're going to have text. The text is going to be item.title. And then, let's see, what do we want the style of that to be? I guess we can use whatever default style is, but I'm going to set the font size to 14. A little smaller than usual. And then we're going to want an on tap, but we won't implement that until a little bit later. Okay. Build menu item. What are we going to do with that? So here we build the group header. Here we build the bottom of the group. But for every group, we also need to loop through the items. And here again, we're going to return multiple things because not only are we going to build the menu item, but we're also going to create a divider where the height is going to be 1 and the color is going to be 2A, 2A, 2A. Let's save that. All right, check it out. So we're making some forward progress here. We have these two list items, but they're showing through to the background, and we don't want that. So we're going to come back down to build menu item, and previously I tried setting the tile color, but that did not work. See, if I say colors.black, let's see if that sets it this time. No, see, it doesn't change the color. I don't know if that's a weird intended behavior or if that's a bug, but what we're going to do instead is we're just going to say, I guess we can say decorated box, whose decoration will be, I think, can we do const? I don't know, let's find out. Box, decoration, color, and let me see what color I wanted for that. I think I want const color 30, 30, 30. So just like the little part at the end of each group. Okay, and now we have the lighter color, we don't see through to that pattern background anymore. So you can see this is why I put the pattern background in there. Again, I don't know how much of this is visible on your screen, but if you run this in person, it's very clear that this area at the top and the bottom are not a part of the menu, and the menu is this part at the vertical center. So now, the only piece of functionality remaining is that when we tap these list tiles, they need to change the content that is displayed on this screen. Now we're going to go break that child behavior. But first the question is, how is that supposed to happen? When we tap on a list tile, what is supposed to happen that changes the content? What we're going to do is we're going to come down here to demo menu item, and not only is it going to know how to display an item, but it's also going to include a widget builder that knows how to build the content. I guess we can call it maybe page builder. Maybe that's a good name. And we're going to require that. When the user taps on a list tile, we know the demo menu item associated with it, and then we can run the page builder, which builds the page, which then becomes the content of the screen. Let's come back to main. You'll notice that we have red squigglies here because we are not providing our required builder. For the first one, the page builder is going to return the hacking demo. Come on, come on, come on. Anytime that the autocomplete wants to hop in here. And then down here for demo menu item star field, this one we're going to have to go make an adjustment because I did not give, if we come in here to star field, it's just called home screen again. Why? Because this had its own entry point. So it was its own whole app. But now I'm going to rename this to Coding Train Starfield Demo. Going to come back to main. We're going to say Coding Train S Starfield Demo. That allows us to compile, but it still isn't going to do anything because we aren't taking advantage of any of these builders yet. Let's come back to app screen. We no longer want child. There's not one piece of content. There's many pieces of content. We'll get rid of the child. Down here in our build for the screen, we have widget.child. That's not going to work anymore. Instead, we need to hold on to the currently selected list item. We're going to say active list item dot page builder, and then we're going to execute it like that. But active list item doesn't exist yet. We'll come up here to the top of our state object, and we will say late. I said this is the demo. In fact, we don't technically need to store the list item. That's fine. Let's store the list item. There's the active list item, and we will create it in an init state. We'll say active list item is equal to widget dot initial active menu item. Okay, so let's keep the naming consistent. I called it a menu item there. I'll call it a menu item here. Okay, and then, so first let's make sure that works for the initialization case. Get rid of child. Initial active menu item, that's where we're passing it in. It should be the hacking demo again. Let's save. Okay, it's complaining about stuff. But let's do a hot restart. Actually, there's something red down here, I guess, huh? This should be a comma. Okay, save. Let's do a hot restart. We're back. We're seeing the same thing, but this content came from the list item, the active list item, not the child property. So this should mean we're working, but we still can't change the content. I tap on that, nothing happens because we haven't hooked up the onTap callback yet. Let's create a method in here. Let me get this out of the way. We're going to say, what should we call this? maybe activate, or we'll say show demo, and we'll take in a demo list item. I did that again, demo menu item. And then we will say set state. Active menu item equals menu item. And I guess we can also, as a little performance improvement, we can say if menu item is not equal to active menu item. We'll only set state if they're actually different, so that if the user sits there tapping all day on the same item in the drawer, it's not going to keep repainting everything for no reason. Now with that show demo, we need to call it. So when we build the drawer, when we build the drawer content, when we build the menu item, on tap, we're going to say show demo, and we're going to pass in the item that we tapped on. Let's save that. Let's do a hot restart just to make sure everything's clean. All right, we're back here. Starfield. Boom. Hacking. Boom. Starfield. Boom. All right. And just like that, we have a completely custom animated drawer that allows us to switch between our different demos. Now, let me just reflect on a few things while we're here, some things to keep in mind about Flutter. If you were to implement this, some of you probably would have used a scaffold with a regular drawer. And there's nothing wrong with that. But one thing I wanted to show you is that you do not need to rely on the built-in drawer and built-in scaffold. It really didn't take much at all for us to create our own version. And I don't even know if it's possible to get an overhang like this using a scaffold drawer. I would guess probably not. Or you might have to hack some really weird, you might have to do two different widgets that are totally disconnected. Your drawer and then the overhang. You might have to make those separate widgets and then listen to the drawer controller. So unnecessarily complicated in that case. But also, if you were to use the scaffold to create this, it would automatically use the Navigator. Like, notice when I tap out here to close the drawer. To close the drawer in a scaffold, you have to pop the route off the Navigator. Here, we didn't even have a Navigator because I don't care about navigation. I don't need to bring in route names and routing and route animations. Whatever, I don't care. I have a screen where this is just part of my screen, and it can be open or closed. If I wanted to make this part darker when it's open, I could. We have full control. The point is, we didn't need the Navigator, so involving routes would just be unnecessary complexity that might get in our way. So, don't be afraid to create your own tools like this. Just because Flutter does it one way doesn't mean you need to. Start from first principles. What do you actually need? And what's the simplest way to accomplish what you need? I think this is pretty simple, and it accomplishes what we need. Now let me tell you what's going to be coming next. I'm not sure what order I'm going to do these things, but one thing that I'm thinking is that as much as I love the color yellow, and all the things I do on this channel are yellow, when it comes to dealing with graphics, you want the ability to have either a low contrast or high contrast background. Either I might want to have a dark gray background to kind of blend in with the star field, or I might want a white background to contrast with the star field. There's no reason to force people to have a yellow background. So I'm thinking about adding some little buttons down here in the center of the screen that will allow you to change the background color. I think I'm going to put a toolbar over here on the right side of the screen that allows you to take screenshots, generate multiple frame screenshots, and record a GIF animation by clicking various buttons and having little popovers that say where to save it. And I may even create some zoom controls that allow you to zoom in on your sketch. It'll truly be a zoom. It won't like the sketch is not going to paint more pixels. We're just going to enlarge the sketch. I may or may not do that, but I'm thinking about it. So that's probably going to be the next few videos. I'll probably create a custom UI for the coding train so that we can clearly show the thematic difference between the coding train and everything else and pay some homage to the coding train. Those are a number of videos that will probably be coming in the near future. The point is to get this example app as useful and looking as good as possible before I consider it to be essentially done. And from there, we'll move on to maybe having some of you contribute to the project once the example app is all where it should be. All right, so that's all for today. I hope you learned something. Hope you're giving this a try. If you know any instructors that would perhaps benefit from this tool, please do start to let them know. We're pretty much at the finish line here, at least for kind of a mature alpha version. So I'll see you in the next video where we continue working on this example app, and then eventually some of you can contribute to the project as well. See you later.